Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, and today this is episode 57, and I'm going to be talking with a great friend, living legend, Chris Arnold. Chris is a sports master. He has been doing sports for a while, and he's done all kinds of sports, and especially NBA sports, and even rodeo. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So come on in here, Chris.
Good having you. Good seeing you, Liz.
You too. We always have a good time when we're together, and I appreciate you so much coming on and for the show here today. And now we've lost picture.
Well, I'm still here.
You can see me. I can't see you, but we can hear you, so that's good. So but yeah, I just wanted us to kind of jump on and talk a little bit, one about, your career as a radio personality and as a sports personality, and now working with the Dallas Mavericks. But you have a pretty long history too with our friend Cleo Hearn. So why don't we kind of start with that story, and then we'll talk about some of these other things.
All righty. I've been knowing Cleo, oh my goodness, at least 45 years. The reason I say that is because before I moved to Dallas to be on the radio in Texas, Cleo grew up with my mother in a little town in Oklahoma, a little black town in Oklahoma. And they were classmates. And so I've always ran into Cleo and met Cleo and his family over the years. And lo and behold, he lives down here in Dallas-Fort Worth area, in Lancaster. Right. And I've been living down here since 1980.
Right.
Just wind up doing either things together or running each other for different reasons, having them on my radio shows, whether it was K104, The Ticket, 105.3 The Fan. Well, Cleo's he's more than just a Cowboys legend. He is a good family friend, and I'm just so proud of him. I'm sure he's proud of me, watching me grow up and being in the Texas Radio Hall of Fame and Texas Black Sports Hall of Fame and the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for sure. So he is, and I know he is, and we appreciate all those years, Chris, when y'all had us on the shows, when we had rodeos, and Cleo's always a fun interview, and he's always fun to talk to, and he's still doing okay, but he's 84, so he's easing out a little bit, and the boys are kind of taking over the rodeo stuff, and the awards programs. But like you say, we're finally getting to induct him because in the past he didn't want us to put him in. He wanted to get the guys that helped train him and that he rodeoed with in the early days,
Yeah, he's got a heck of a story. You and I were talking about it on the radio show when we run it on KRLD in Dallas, 105.3 The Fan, Jack FM, K-Love, and KVIL. We played on all those platforms simultaneously. And that's people got a great reaction. Liz, you did a great job breaking down Cleo's career, and because he doesn't like to talk about it himself. He might go on and talk about rodeo somewhere, but he doesn't like to talk about himself. So to shine a spotlight on him, that's some rare stuff because he doesn't like to talk about himself. And so it's really good to have you on. One of the things I liked was how you told the story about how he wound up working at Ford. And then that's why I ran into him again with the Dallas Cowboys. So why don't you tell a little bit about Ford, how working at Ford, and then I'll tell you how that kind of tied in with the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Cleo was a cowboy, and a Ford tractor was actually looking for a black cowboy or somebody, an African American, to do a commercial for them. And they, I guess, must have been a sponsor at one of the rodeos, and they saw Cleo sitting on the fence, and they kind of asked him. They come over, this guy said, "Can I take your picture?" And Cleo, he said, "Sure, go ahead." And then the guy said, well, we'd like you to audition for a commercial for Ford Tractor. And, he was kind of like, well, I've never auditioned for a commercial before. What do I do? And they said, well, all you need to do is sit on the tractor and drive it around, or, and he said, oh, well, I can do that. So he did that commercial with Ford, and after it was over, there's a guy kind of standing over in the corner, and he never said nothing. He never interacted with anybody else, the photographers, the video, the makeup people. Everybody was lights, everybody was doing their thing, and they shot the commercial. But afterwards, the guy came over and he said, well, what do you do besides rodeo? And Cleo said, well, I just graduated from Langston University with a business degree. And this guy said, would you like to join our management program at Ford Tractor? And so Cleo was like, what? Whoa, yeah, sure. And so he interviewed, he got the job, and he later on transferred over to the Ford truck division, and he spent the rest of his career there. But he spent about 35 years with Ford before he retired. And, and so Ford was a sponsor at the Dallas Cowboys. And guess what happened? That's where you saw him, didn't you, Chris?
That's where I ran into him again years later. I mean, I had moved to Dallas, and I always thought about Cleo being the Oklahoma Cowboy. So I never really thought about him being in Dallas, even though the rodeo was all over the Southwest. Well, I'm at a Cowboys game. I covered the Cowboys to this day. I covered the Cowboys since 1980. 1980 to all the way through right now. Still covering them to this day. And I do the pregame show and the postgame interviews in the locker room with all the players. So back in the day, I'm a reporter, and I'm doing all those interviews as well. And I'm looking down on the sidelines. I'm like, is that Cleo over there by Tom Landry? Wait a minute.
Who's that guy in the Cowboy hat?
Down there on the sidelines, but he's a real Cowboy, and he's over there with the football Cowboys, and he's over there with Tom Landry. So Cleo was telling me that Ford was a big sponsor with the Dallas Cowboys, and he goes to all the Cowboys home games. Well, I go to Cowboys home and road games. And lo and behold, every now and then I would see him on the road.
Right. I'm sure. And I'm sure, because he basically, when he worked for Ford as his own manager, at some point Ford was a sponsor for the Cowboys, and they asked him to pick up the referees. And so that was his job. That was one of his side jobs. And it was a perk for him.
The referees.
So he was a perk for him because he got to go to the games. And of course, living here in Dallas, he was a big Cowboy fan, football fan as well. And a lot of the guys over the years, came out to the rodeo and supported us and did different things, So he knew, like you say, all those guys, and they all knew him. And so it was a really nice relationship. And he'd probably still be doing it, except for a few years ago, they asked him to start carrying a weapon. And Cleo said, I've never touched a gun in my life, and I'm not starting now, and he was like, he was probably about 76 or 77, I guess, when they asked him to do that. But yeah, those were great times. Well, tell us a little bit more about you, because now the last about 8 or 10 years you've been working with the Dallas Mavericks. Is that right?
Actually, it's the crazy thing, but I've been working with the Dallas Mavericks since 1995. Is that not crazy?
Oh, that is crazy. Well, a lot longer than I knew about. Well, tell me that.
30 years. 4 or 5, not 10. It's 30 years. Here's the crazy part about it. I started working for the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, I've covered them since 1980 as a reporter on the radio, 104 radio, and then Channel 8 and 105.3. Well, not 105.3 The Fan. It was the Ticket first. 105.3 The Fan sports station did not exist in the 1990s. And so in the 1990s, about 1995, I'm covering the game. Now, mind you, I've been on the Mavericks road game. K104 let me cover everything in the world of sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, track, tennis, archery, rodeo, auto racing, horse racing, rodeo, barbecue is a sport, so we talk about barbecue as well. But they'd always send me to different things like the Super Bowl, the World Series, the NBA Finals, Pro Bowl, baseball All-Star Game, the Final Four, the Olympics, the Stanley Cup, the World Cup. You name it, I covered rodeos, boxing matches, the big boxing matches in Vegas and Atlantic City. I mean, I was doing all that stuff, traveling around the world with the Dallas Cowboys. And about in 1995, I'm at the Mavericks game like I normally am, covering it for the radio. And the PA announcer, he just vertigo. That means he started getting dizzy, and this is at halftime. And he fell out. And he didn't have to go to the hospital, but he couldn't sit up. So the PR director for the Mavericks, he said, Chris, can you do the PA for the game? Can you do the play-by-play for the game for us? And I said, yeah, I can do that. So I got on the microphone, and I'm Jim Jackson, Jamal Mashburn for three, whatever it was, right?
Right,
Doing the PA.
right.
And so he couldn't make it the rest of the season. So I did 30 home games for the Dallas Mavericks. And I was also working at the Ticket, also working at K104, and also working at Channel 8.
Right.
At that summer, when the Mavericks season ended, the PR director said, you know what, we want to add one more person to our broadcast team on Fox Sports Southwest. But we can't do it unless Channel 8 gives us permission. You think Dale will let you do it? Dale Hansen. I said, let me go ask Dale. And Dale said, yeah, that'd be right. I do the Cowboys on the radio. You do the Mavericks on TV. We do it all. So I literally went from doing the PA for the Dallas Mavericks. The next year I was doing Fox Sports Southwest as their first ever courtside reporter. So I'm doing all the interviews after the game, before the game, during the game. They throw it to me at courtside. Whatever Skim Wade is doing, that's what I did for 8 years. And in those 8 years, Mark Cuban buys the team. Me and Mark are good friends. We were good friends before he bought the team, great friends afterwards. But he said, you know what, Chris, everything you're doing on the broadcast, I want you to do it at the games. I said, what do you mean? He said, we're getting good. We're winning 50 games a year. We're going into the playoffs and whatnot. We need to make the games as exciting as watching it on TV.
Right.
So what you do, we want people to sit there, we want butts in seats. So do that stuff. So the first year, he said, I want you to MC the game. So I became the first ever MC, in-game MC in NBA history. And I MC'd the NBA All-Star game at AT&T Stadium, where you had 108,000 people. Most people ever watch a basketball history in the world, anywhere, on any level. I MC'd that thing.
Yeah.
I've MC'd the Mavericks game since 2006. And literally, it's been a blast because, I'm on the big screen. I'm talking to people, doing the pregame, postgame, interviewing the players, coaches, sports figures. I'll also, host the half-court shot for $25,000 or all the different fun activities. They've got a staff for me right now where they just come up with stuff. It's sponsored. You make this little shot, you can win free Whataburger for a year.
Right.
Or you can win all these American Airlines miles, go all over the world. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, you probably know half the audience too, don't you? Half the people coming to the game, you probably know them personally, don't you?
Exactly, because over time, it's amazing how many people either are season ticket holders or just go to the Mavericks game, 5-10 times a year, whatever. In fact, I don't even really go out that much. I used to go out and hang out with my friends. You get a little older, you don't feel like hanging out. All my friends are at the Maverick games anyway. Friends I hadn't seen in years, they'll text me and say, hey, I'm over here in section 105 or I'm section 340, 342 or something. Can you come by and say hi? And I always come by and say hi, visit with people when I'm not on the floor.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, and that's so exciting. We're pleased for that. And Chris was responsible. The other award that we have not talked about, but I want Chris to talk about now, is that y'all did give Cleo the award because y'all give a community award out, for a legend, somebody in the community that's gone above and beyond. And so Cleo last year, I guess during Black History Month, was the legend that y'all acknowledged, and I really appreciate that too. We had a great time that night coming, and tell us a little bit about the Mavericks Award.
Yeah, the Mavericks have a foundation, and we give away millions of dollars every year, scholarships, and we also recognize legends, especially legends who may be unsung. It's kind of like that movie Hidden Figures. They are great. They've done amazing things, and the only people that know about them are the people in their community or the people in their information bubble. In this day and age of modern technology, people consume their media only a couple of ways. They'll either get it online, or they'll get it on a streaming service, or they'll get it on television, or they'll read, not the newspaper, because the newspaper is now online. You go to the website for the newspaper. Nobody goes out to the front yard, picks up a paper anymore. So people consume their media in certain ways. And we recognize Cleo, for for the rodeo that he's been doing his entire life, but more importantly, the Cowboys of Color rodeo that's made an indelible mark on a lot of people's lives, because you guys have been not only raising money for charities with the rodeos, but you go out to speak to schools. Cleo's there everywhere, and guess what? You learn history that's not just the national rodeo. That's not the quote unquote rodeo that you go to all the time that you hear about. You might not have heard about the Cowboys of Color rodeo, but then you've heard maybe some of the different players, or excuse me, different athletes, the different riders, like, you know, like you might have heard of the Negro Leagues in baseball. So we want to make sure we recognize Cleo for all the work he's done, all the work that you've done as well, because you've been side by side with Cleo for years and years and years, Liz. That's why you're the executive director.
Well, and that's it. And, you know, and Chris, both of us, we wouldn't have stayed in the business that we're in if we weren't having a good time. If we didn't love it, we didn't love the people.
Yeah, a job is a difference between a job and a career. A career, you enjoy what you do, and work isn't work when you love what you do. It's joy.
Right. That is for sure. Well, Chris, you know, we also want to give, I want to give a shout out to Vandella. She jumped on here and said we're a couple of her favorite people. And I know you know her. So she's watching.
Yeah, no, Vandella. Vandella gets around. She is a whirlwind. She is a community activist, which means that she's out and about making sure the word is out about all the different foundations, all the nonprofits, all the charitable events, all the different things where you can help make your community great, even picking up trash sometimes.
Well, that's it. And we met the other day, and we met through Coy, of course, Poitier, who did our documentary for our Cowboys of Color documentary. It's called Cowboys of Color, A Multicultural Legacy. And it's a short film documentary, and but it won Best of Film at the Texas Black Film Festival. It won honorable mention at the DFW Film Festival. It won Best of Show at the Boston Film Festival. And so, you know, we're getting a little play there with this documentary, this film. You can download that from Amazon. I think it's only like $1.99. It's something really, you know, really reasonable, and watch that film. And you know, Cleo's interviewed there, and there's a lot of the other Cowboys, because Coy and them went out to the ranches behind the scenes and did a lot of you know, talking to folks. And so that's a very good thing. As you can see, I've got the shameless plug, my Cleo Hearn children's book there behind us, and Vandella saying Cowboys of Color is awesome. So we appreciate that. Bonnie Amos.
I'm going to tell you the next step before I have to get out of here. Watch what's going to happen. Somebody's in Hollywood's going to offer you guys a contract to do Cleo's life story, because it is a riveting story. Beyond a documentary, we're talking about a film where you have somebody like Michael B. Jordan starring as Cleo Hearn.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. And we're writing his biography. So his biography will be out. Yeah, full biography will be out in probably, hopefully, September. We're hoping to coincide, you know, with their state fair rodeos. So we've been working on that for a while.
So crazy, Liz. Imagine this. In this day and age, in modern technology, where everybody's got these different devices and how they consume their media, the platforms, it might not even be a movie. It might be one of those mini series on Netflix,
right?
Or HBO Max. You know, where every episode you have to binge watch it. The Cleo Hearn story.
Well, that's it. And, you know, and then, you know, also we could bring in some of those other Cowboys that he's so proud of. And, you know, we could talk about some of those historical Cowboys, and then some of those up and comers, because, you know, that's what we've got too. We've got these up and comers. And I know you don't have much time, Chris, but I want you to, if you will, just, you know, share with our audience, or if there's somebody watching and they're out there and they kind of want to do something, or they want to get involved in some sports or something, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, they don't have to be on the court. They don't have to be on the field. There's a lot of opportunity behind, you know, which is behind the scenes, really in front of the scenes.
There's a way to be involved. Again, there's so many different aspects, not just rodeo, Cowboys of Color rodeo, but if you want to be in the world of sports or entertainment, the way things are going, the traditional roles of being involved are not the same anymore. I ask everybody to realize that there's a lot of people who have influence, and now influence is the capital. That's the currency people deal with. If you have influence, if you have a circle of influence, if you have people that can pick you up on different platforms. You're going to be a valuable asset in no matter what line of work you're in, whether it's rodeo, Cowboys of Color Rodeo. If you just want to check it out, if you're the kind of person that says, you know what, I'm going to bring it to this particular stage, or I'm going to be able to help them and do this on the side. Everything is evolving so fast, even AI, artificial intelligence. You might be able to do some things that advance this purpose, and you'll find so much happiness because it's something that you're a part of anyway. Liz, again, thanks for having me. I could talk about Cleo and media all day. We're gonna have to do this again real soon, okay?
We will. We'll do this again. So thanks so much. We've been talking with living legend Chris Arnold. Not only is he a Dallas-Fort Worth radio personality, he's been all over the world, and he has been at all the biggest sporting events in the world. And he knows that being there and experiencing it live, there's nothing like that. And so we appreciate Chris so much. He does so much himself for the community. He was giving a big shout out to Vandella, and she appreciates that. And we appreciate her too, because she is introducing us to audiences that we haven't been in front of before. But we really appreciate Chris, because all these years, he's always, every time we've called him, he's always said yes. He's always stepped up. He does so much for the community. I'm sure that a lot of people don't know about either behind the scenes. And like I say, just like nominating Cleo, or when they were saying, you know, who should we give the award to this month? And the Mavericks, when they were asking that question, Chris Arnold said, you know, we need to recognize Cleo Hearn, you know, and the rodeo. And, you know, we're the Mavericks, and that's wild horses are a big part of rodeo and always have been. So we have that connection, and we appreciate that. We have that relationship. And so we thank those of you who've been watching. If you've been watching on Facebook or YouTube, or maybe on LinkedIn, we're on all those platforms. We record this session as well. So this great interview with Chris will get archived to our YouTube channel. It'll be available there in the next few days. And then we also pull the audio, and it goes out to our podcast channels. So if you're on Spotify or iHeartMedia or Spreaker or any of the platforms that you listen to, or you listen to podcasts on, you'll be able to go and find Wild West Diversity there as well. So if that's your media that you prefer, as Chris was talking about media, like you say, there's still a few of us that would go out to the curb and pick up a newspaper, but not too many. So, and it's getting less and less, of course. But we appreciate Chris. We appreciate his connection and his commitment, not only to sports and telling those true stories, and interviewing all these guys and gals, and really impacting. And that's what I wanted y'all to know. You know, you don't necessarily, if you don't feel like you're a great athlete, but you still enjoy sports, there are a lot of opportunities for you. You can work in management. You can work in behind the scenes. You can work on the court like Chris. You can be an announcer. You can be, you know, a timer. There's just all kinds of projects and jobs that go on. And, you know, that you don't have to be necessarily a great athlete to be involved with a great organization like the Dallas Mavericks. And so, yeah, and Vandella's saying hashtag changing lives, and it's so true. We appreciate so much Mark Cuban and St. Marshall and all their team, Gail O'Bannon over there at the Dallas Mavericks. They've been supportive of our Cowboys of Color rodeos. They've been a sponsor for us over the years. And then we got hit with COVID, and we kind of had to take a break, but we're moving back into that. The Pirate Syndicate, they're the ones too that broadcast our show for us. So I want to give them a shout out about hashtag Make It Matter. And so anyway, go to our our YouTube channel and subscribe. You can go, it's YouTube at Wild West Diversity. Punch that red button or that black button and subscribe. So that you can go back and watch our other 56 shows that we have here on Wild West Diversity. That'll be great. That'll be something that helps us too as we're moving forward, as we're trying to reach out and influence, because as Chris mentioned, we are doing out to schools and places like that. We'll be at the library conference next week. We'll be talking about Mr. Cleo Hearn there with our shameless self-promotion here. So we've got Cleo's new book. It's called Cleo Hearn, Mr. Black Rodeo. We also have a coloring book version, and that has a green cover. And so that's available on Amazon. You can get either one of these books. We also have our African Americans Western Legends yesterday. This is about people that lived in the 1800s. So it's 16 stories about real people who lived. And these are great mentors and role models for kids and even adults. So because of the choices and the actions that they took, they lived extraordinary lives, but they were just ordinary people like you and me. And Bonnie Amos, she's talking about Cowboys of Color and the jobs behind the scenes. So she's a timer and she was a secretary. And, we got to check all those cowboys in when they come to the rodeo. We got to call their names. We got to say who's up next. We got to tell the announcer, Kevin Woodson, who's our announcer. You can go back and see Kevin's show that we did here and talked about how he got in the business and as a bullfighter first, and then as a calf roper, and then he became the rodeo announcer and the voice of the Cowboys of Color rodeos, practically, I guess, for the last 20 or 25 years. So thanks so much. We appreciate y'all watching today. This has been Wild West Diversity, episode 57, with our wonderful living legend, Chris Arnold, the sports master. And we thank all of y'all who watched today, and we look forward to seeing you next week here. We'll be here at the same time, 5 p.m. on Thursdays, every Thursday. If we don't see you here, we'll see you on the trail. Thanks so much. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail.